Hey everybody, I'm Maryanne and this is the Heart-Led Changemaker podcast. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone where it felt so juicy and inspired that it left you feeling energized and ready to take on the world? There have been countless times I wished I could have recorded conversations like that because it felt criminal that no one else got to hear or experience that feeling. Those conversations ignite something inside of you because you visualize a new way to connect with others and sometimes even a new world. This show will provide you with ways to stay focused on the future, some food for thought, new ideas and concepts, a way to create abundance ethically, a showcase of those already doing the work and succeeding, and a sense of connection. Being a change maker can be very lonely, so this will serve as a community for heart-led warriors. Sit back and let this high vibe, heartfelt conversation light you up.
So when you look at themes that you're noticing in the corporates and with teams and with individuals in those environments, what are you noticing?
There's a big shift that's, since I've been doing this work in the corporate environment, when I first was proposing in a development work, I literally got laughed at. It was just like, you're ridiculous. Who are you? And, I got labeled the woo-woo.
Yeah.
And so, but these days, words like resilience and self-care and well-being are all being bandied around. That's the norm now. That's the narrative. And so for me, it's very exciting. I feel very excited about the shift that is already happening.
Yes.
I would say then being in the corporate world, it's tough because the shift hasn't happened enough where companies are understanding and organizations are understanding that it needs to run much deeper. The work needs to go much deeper. And like I said, we need to have these psychological spaces, not that we're doing therapy at work, that's not the right place.
Yes.
But recognizing that there needs to be more support, because what I am seeing is the burnout rate is just rocketing. I just read a report yesterday, I think it was a DDI report, that burnout rates have shot up even more since COVID. And we're over 50% now. So over 50% of people are reporting burnout. That is a shocking statistic. It's a very scary statistic, and it's not going to get better until things change within organizations in the business world. And for me, I think that all organizations have a responsibility to advocate change, to facilitate and create workplaces that are assisting people, having conversations about burnout, not making people wrong or labeling them as weak or not able to do their job, but actually acknowledging that it's a real problem and figuring out ways to deal with it.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at, there's major shortages with staff across Australia and the globe really, but in Australia, the corporates that I talk to, the people that I talk to, my clients can't physically get bums on seats. They don't have any resources. So then to put that pressure on your staff and not be willing to change and do the work as a leader of those organizations to hold that space for the people in there so you don't lose them even more. They're at risk of losing those businesses in its entirety, because eventually it feels to me, the visual that I get is it's like a pressure cooker. Something is going to give. Those people are either going to just want to opt out and not work at all, which means that then that business cannot run, and because they can't refill already now, let alone post that. So something has to change. And the fact that you're leading and you're trying to explain and show and demonstrate how facilitating this change and this transformation is going to help them, that's a gift.
Thank you. And it's not, I know it's not just me, you're doing it. And there are many people who've done that inner work, the inner development, who are going back into corporate and actually assisting people in corporate, assisting the business world. There are many entrepreneurs, awakened entrepreneurs that are running their businesses in a very different way. So there is an awareness there. But yes, the scene I get is, last one out, turn the light off, because businesses are really struggling to get great staff. And the problem is the staff that are remaining, they're getting more work added on to their pile without extra income.
Yep.
No extra salary, just extra work. And that's just adding to the pressure. There will be a tipping point. There will be a breaking point. And unfortunately, if you look back in history, it takes an absolute crisis for things to change in a way that is needed. So I know that there's a change started, but I do feel like there is a breaking point that there is about to be reached very soon, where organizations are going to have no option but to look at alternatives. I mean, that was it for me. I burnt out, and then I started looking for alternative therapies. And so it doesn't matter how we get there, we'll get there. I do trust that. But why can't we have these conversations and just make it an easier ride?
Yeah, of course. But what's interesting, it's so strange, because when you're talking to individuals, I don't know if you have this experience as well. When I talk to individuals, they find respite in the conversations that we have. And I'm just me. I don't put a mask on. Sometimes, I'll push it a little bit more. I don't say my guides told me. I'll just say I had a vision. I don't use that language because they're not ready for that. And I can respect and understand that. But I find that they thrive in those conversations, but then when they go out to manage their teams, they won't use that same. They won't. It's not. It's like they're not forwarding it on, that knowledge and that approach. And so the more we can get on board to operate, it's a new leadership operating system. That's the wording that I keep getting, but that is what is going to be the game changer. And they're not really going to have much choice. I can't see how they can continue on like this. Like I actively think about what it's going to take, and there definitely is going to be a tipping point. And I hope so, sooner rather than later, because people need some respite. Their souls are tired, so tired. And it's tiring.
Yeah.
Is it tiring even interacting with those people because they're tired?
Yes. And I would say you don't know what you don't know. And so, it's important for us to understand that just by hearing someone and having relief doesn't mean that we're able as leaders to then become conscious overnight and implement that operating strategy. So a big part of my work is training leaders in that consciousness, to be conscious leaders. And what does that mean? And training them in the inner development work themselves, because once they do it for themselves, then they will naturally give it back. So it's a good point you make. I do think that it's very important to have this training for leaders, which is why I'm so focused on bringing this for leaders, politicians, especially women in politics, to help them have some strong foundations to stay resilient, to stay strong, but to also open their hearts and be compassionate to those around them, so that they can also be the change makers, because it is change, that those leaders that are going to bring about the change. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama did say it's Western woman that will save the world. His words, not mine. And I truly believe that.
And look, I think those people, they have to fundamentally shift, and of course it is going to take time, but they're the people that are in the position of power to create that change. We can't just, even though we'd like to remove people from those roles, we'd like to just yank them out of that space and put some new people in. It's not going to work like that. That I don't ever see that happening. I think that's delusional and unrealistic, because we're humans and there is a way of being and operating and participating. We can't just start a clean slate, but we can make these adjustments, which is why this podcast has even started, because I want to talk about change now. I don't want to wait for some rainy day that, you know, the switch goes off and then we're in a brand new world and everyone's singing Kumbaya and, you know, everything's amazing, you know, and we're all at the same level. Like eventually, I don't think in my lifetime, but eventually we'll end up like that. But for right now, today, in this meat suit that we're in, you know, we have to think about what can we do now? How can we make that change now? Because that is what is our soul is calling for that action.
Yeah, it was part of our responsibility. You know, if we've received teaching, training, awakening from any teacher, any master, any great mentor, then it's our responsibility then to turn around and give that back and pay it back. And so that's what you and I are doing. And like I said, there are many people doing that now in the corporate world. I'm meeting more and more women, mentors, coaches, speakers who are going into the corporate world and doing that work and bringing their light into those very dark places. And so it is a responsibility for us to do it. And it's a responsibility, I believe, for us to advocate for change. So not sit back, not judge or fight, but stand for what we know will be a big help to leaders, to people in governments, to organizations, not-for-profits, charities. You know, it's systemic.
Yes.
And so it's about having these honest, open conversations so that we normalize what's going on here. And that will then help more people kind of understand what's going on and take some leadership from that.
Absolutely. That is such a beautiful way to think about things and approach things. If you are working in that, you know, with corporates in that world, if you're a person still working in the corporate because that's what you feel called to, it's a really great way of thinking about things. And I love that. So what have you enjoyed about being a change maker? Because obviously there's plenty of challenges and we've covered some of those things, and I'm sure there's many more on that list. But what do you particularly enjoy about leading the way and leading this change?
You know what really lights me up is seeing the transformation in people in the work that I do.
Yeah.
I get off on it. I really do.
Yeah.
Because I just think, wow, I honestly feel blessed to do that work. I feel honored to do that work, to pay it forward, so to speak, to literally see the change. You know, if I work in an organization, I've done like a 4-week program or a 6-week program in an organization, and to see the change in the entire group and having people go from quite defensive, shut down, exhausted, you know, feeling hopeless and helpless, to feeling inspired and motivated and getting their health back and knowing, yeah, I've got these tools now and I'm already, you know, they'll come up to me and say, I've stopped the coffee and, you know, I'm drinking the celery juice and oh my God, I got so much more energy and I feel like I can make a difference now. They feel empowered because they've learned about self-empowerment. Then I know I've done a great job. I know, tick the box, I've done what I'm meant to do here. I'm on purpose.
Yes.
And got clarity about my purpose. And has it been easy? No, it's been the hardest thing ever to go into the corporate world and share what I've learned, share the profundity of some of the things that I've experienced being in India and working with masters and, you know, living saints and feeling the profound love that they have and experiencing it myself. And just being able to share that, and just it can be as simple as, you know, just letting someone know it's all right, it's okay, you're doing your best, and having compassion for them, maybe putting an arm around them and just letting them know it's okay, and showing them compassion and love.
Yes.
It's a rare thing, you know. We might think, oh, we're loving beings, but it's a rare thing to show someone unconditional love. You know, whatever you've done, whatever you've said, yeah, I still appreciate you. I still honor you. I know you're doing your best. You see the walls just crumble and people just open up.
Yes.
And, you know, it makes me, I'm an empath, so I'll usually have a cry with them because I can feel like I've reached the human, I've reached the heart. I've reached
of course.
through those walls, and it lights me up.
And one of the beautiful leaders and change makers that we love and admire, Esther Hicks, the work that she does, that is an example of what you were just talking about, because those people have questions about what's going to happen to their life, where's their partner, where's the finances, where's the job that they're asking for. And there's no judgment, when she's channeling Abraham, there's no judgment about those questions. They will make fun of the person to soften them into the amusing nature of those questions. And then she just lets them be, and you can see they almost melt. All of those barriers, all of those fears start to melt, and she brings them to a place and takes them within. And that's such a beautiful activation. But that is very similar. It's basically the same thing as what you were doing when you are talking to people and you're feeling their soul, you releasing in that way. That is the same thing. She's doing it in a funnier way, which is probably a bit gentler for her, but nevertheless, it's the same experience, isn't it?
Yes, it absolutely is. And for anyone who hasn't heard of Esther Hicks, she's an American woman. She channels a group of souls called Abraham. And I got onto Esther Hicks years ago, like very early on in my own awakening.
Yes.
And I remember in the beginning, it was CDs, and cassettes, like right in the beginning. And I would get the CD and listen to it over and over and just think, what is she on about? I love it, but I don't really get it. It took me years to kind of understand, because right, at such a high level of consciousness. But the great thing about any light worker or anyone who's awake or has done some inner development and had some energy upgrade or energy cleansing, shall we say, worked on their energy field, worked on their chakras, more is caught than taught. So I find that in my experience, I do find it with Esther. I feel like I've had an energy lobotomy after I've been to see her, because all of that high vibrational energy just gets transferred.
Yes.
And she will say it's more of a energy transference. And we talk words just to keep your mind entertained. And I know that's what I do when I work with people, if I'm speaking or
absolutely
working. The words are really a distraction for what's going on energetically, which is a transference of light.
Yes,
of course. That's what makes the transformation. That's what people feel and experience. They don't really understand sometimes, a lot of the time, what's going on, but they just know, oh, I kind of really connect with you. Let me know more.
Yes, absolutely. And that I feel like it's a gift that we can be like that. We understand what that means and that feeling. I feel gratitude all the time that I found that, and I'm sure you feel like that too. But it's a gift to help people come to that realization and give them permission. For the most part, we're giving people permission to be like that.
Yes, absolutely. I do feel very blessed. I know in the beginning of my journey, it was hard for me to accept all of the amazing things that started happening in my life, the support and the help, the understanding, the realizations I was having, the energy initiations, all the blessings I was getting. I felt like, wow, I don't feel worthy to receive all of this. It took me a long time to get through that.
Yes.
And so now, like you say, I do feel blessed. It's a blessed life. It's not an easy life. Stuff still happens, it still hits the fan often, but I've got the tools now. I've got the awareness now. And so I can deal with it. And to be able to empower others in that way is such a wonderful gift and an absolute privilege. Yeah,
I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've absolutely loved speaking with you. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. I love the work that you're doing. I think you're incredible, and I look forward to seeing more of your success and more of your influence and more of your teaching and healing in this world that we live in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.